your favorite topic,
Yeah.
college football.
Yes.
Alabama quarterback Bryce Young wins the 2021 Heisman Trophy. This is the second year in a row that a Bama player has won it. What are your thoughts on Bryce Young? Do you think he deserved to win the Heisman Trophy, or was there somebody else that you had in mind?
Yeah, I think it's not that I don't think he deserved to win it. I think there's a certain level of SEC bias. I mean, I kind of think that if Kenny Pickett were playing for Alabama or an SEC team, he probably would have won it. He was probably more deserving, but I don't know. To be completely honest with you, as big of a college football player fan as I am, I really don't care that much about the Heisman. It's just one thing. I don't know. I don't put that much value into it. Usually, I can tell who's going to win, but I don't know. I mean, I don't always agree with who's going to win, with who wins it. I thought Tua should have won it instead of Kyler Murray. But in general, I don't know. I just don't care that much. It's just not something I care about that much. I don't think it's a good predictor of who the best players are going to be. And it's just something that a guy wins. I don't know.
So I actually agree with you because a lot of the Heisman winners in the past have not gone on to
Some of them have been terrible.
Yeah, some of them have been really bad NFL players. But look, I'll tell you, congrats to Bryce Young. He's led this Bama team in what's been supposedly a down year to them to the #1 seed in the college football playoff, SEC champs. So congrats. But tonight, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
We're talking about.
I was just going to say, like, if Kenny Pickett played for Alabama and Bryce Young played for Pitt, I think it's kind of clear what would have happened.
Oh, yeah. No, of course. Of course. Let's talk about the transfer portal. Speaking of quarterbacks, there have been a lot that have been on the move, and the biggest name is Spencer Rattler transferring to South Carolina from Oklahoma. He went to USC. I'm sorry?
He went to USC.
Oh, yeah, the other USC. You got me there. His tight end, Austin Stogner, heading there with him. The two players will reunite with Shane Beamer, former Oklahoma assistant in Rattler's first 2 seasons. He is now head coach of the Gamecocks. On the year, Rattler had just 11 touchdowns and 5 picks before he was benched for the true freshman Caleb Williams, and Rattler has 2 years of eligibility left. Nick, this is a guy a lot of people thought at the beginning of the year could be the #1 quarterback in college football and potentially the #1 pick in the draft. Wow, has that changed?
What a bust that was.
Really, really
fast. So bad. I mean, Oklahoma it was a dumpster fire this year. But yeah, it's interesting how he just was potentially the #1 pick in the draft, or at least the #1 quarterback in the draft, and downgraded schools, like totally downgraded schools. Like, how often do we even think about South Carolina?
Not much.
They're just, a steerage type of school, if that's a term. Like, they were like the lowest rung of the SEC. And that's basically what South Carolina is. And that's a real downgrade, I'd say. Usually we see quarterbacks upgrade, but he essentially got demoted.
Pretty much.
He wasn't good enough to play at Oklahoma.
No, and I get it. Like, you could look at it as a leap in a sense, where Big 12 team to an SEC team, but I mean, that's where Oklahoma's heading anyway, right? So
no, yeah, I mean, no, because Oklahoma's a big program. South Carolina is not. They just happen to be in a big conference, so who cares?
Did I tune in at the right time? Yes, you did, Walt. We're talking about your Gamecocks right now, getting Spencer Rattler. Paul Lombardi says, nice water jug, Nick. If you could pull that out for the folks, and can you explain the theory behind this water jug? Because ever since I've known you, you carry that thing around with you everywhere. What is it with you and water jugs, Nick?
It's a more convenient way to consume water. That's really the reason.
And just more water. You don't have to keep refilling.
I don't have to fill it up and do all of this shenanigans. I just have it right here and I chug it.
And they're pretty cheap too, right? They're
really cheap. They're like $1.50.
Where can people find water jugs if they want to go invest in one?
Everywhere. You could be in the middle of nowhere and you could find a water jug, like at a grocery store. Like, you could be in the middle of Iowa and, Kirk Ferentz is watching. I know there's nothing near you, but I'm sure there's a store somewhere with water jugs.
Yeah. But back to back to Spencer Rattler here, because that's who we're talking about. Obviously, this is an upgrade for the Gamecocks and what they have at the QB position, but in no way do I think this makes the Gamecocks a threat in the SEC at all.
No,
I think Rattler will probably have a better 2022 season. I think he could potentially enter his name back into the NFL draft after next season. I don't know if he'll play both years at South Carolina, but he'll definitely play at least one. I think he's a player that really needs to improve through his progressions and the deep ball. He was kind of a game manager at Oklahoma, and I kind of want to see him take more risks downfield because he had some really good players at Oklahoma. I believe Marvin Mims is still there, right? So, I mean,
yeah,
there are players on this roster who are really good, and I felt like Rattler failed to utilize them. It's not that Rattler was ever losing Oklahoma games because they were winning, but they were eventually bound to lose, and they were winning a lot of games too close for comfort, which I think is why they ultimately made the quarterback change to Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I mean, they almost lost to Texas, and like losing to Texas is like losing to an elementary school. Like Texas is like an elementary school. They were terrible.
Let's hold your horses there on that one.
They were terrible
Texas,
this year.
They were. They had trouble deciding between Casey Thompson and Hudson Card, so I think that is an interesting thing. But Quinn Ewers is going home there now. Quinn Ewers is going home to Texas from Ohio State. Quinn Ewers is a guy who is a former 5-star recruit, joins a crowded quarterback room with Casey Thompson and Hudson Card, and has 4 years of eligibility. What do you think about the Longhorns and their quarterback situation now with Quinn Ewers in the mix?
I mean, I never really saw him play. It was just, I don't know how good he's going to be with. I mean, maybe it'll be a great addition, and they'll be a powerhouse again. But in my lifetime, this hasn't been a power. I mean, in the past, not well in my lifetime, but in the past, within the past decade, since they fired Mac Brown, have they been a powerhouse? Is he going to make them a powerhouse?
Yeah, I don't
know. Are they
going
to be able to compete in the SEC? Like, do I care that much about Quinn Ewers transferring to Texas? Realistically,
no, but it is a name to keep note of because the Longhorns have not had a really great quarterback since the days of Colt McCoy and Vince Young, right? And Quinn Ewers being a 5-star recruit could really be the first guy since them to shine when the lights are on bright. So look out for Quinn Ewers next year in 2022.
I mean, you're right, but you also have to remember they're going to be playing a tougher schedule not next year, but when they join the SEC. And that's going to affect them a lot too. I mean, they kind of have to hope. I mean, the thing with Texas is that when they were best, they were the second best team in the Big 12. That's how they were at best, which was a few years ago. Yeah. They were the second best team in the Big 12. And if that's the best you can do, I mean, maybe they'll be able to get much better, but I haven't seen it.